Hello? Check, check. Am I back? Am I live? Does this thing work? We're back. Yay, we're back. Hello, I thought I'd lost you all forever. Wow. All right. Ah, yes. See, we needed a little rift in the timeline so the clone could take over, is what we needed. Yeah. The real tricky gem is you don't want to know. All right. So, anyways, back to business. Recorded league. I think it went pretty well. It wasn't flawless. I'm still learning out my. I'm still learning my workflow with league. So, we'll figure it out as we go. If I'm still frozen, you probably want to refresh your browser, right? That would probably do it. Now it's saying that my bitrate is unstable right now. Oh, we're chilling. Okay. We're back in business. Beautiful. Can we bet on if there will be a misjudge call today? Yo, the thing is, when I'm doing like producing, I was focusing all my energy and just pulling up the right scans at the right time, which is difficult. Some people play fast. So, yeah, I very well may have missed a judge call, but that's why, that's why we'll see if you guys are paying attention. Anyways, we got standard league, 5 rounds. Well, we had like something like 20-ish players, so it was a lot of fun. Everybody that came up into the studio seemed to have fun, have a good time. So that was awesome, super rewarding to see. League players, get to kind of show off their skills and their decks. It was a fun opportunity, so I was excited to do it. Now I've got standard. I've got Gym Leader Challenge League tonight. I might play since I spent all day here working yesterday. I might play in Gym Leader Challenge League tonight. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do tonight. And have some fun with that. And then, yeah, that's what we got on the agenda. And then I've also got, Jesse Parker coming by the studio on Monday for some more post-rotation standard. We're going to be showing off updated lists from Japan for the Scarlet and Violet decks. So that will be on Monday. And I'm really looking forward to doing that updated post-rotation stuff on Monday. Obviously our first draft lists were cool and fun and nice to take a look at, but I think for like the YouTube videos and the YouTube exclusive edits, like I want to have some updated lists that are like, they're more refined. So we're going to be doing more refined Scarlet and Violet lists, more updated lists on Monday. So that's what we got in the hopper. That's what we got coming your way. All right, let's get into this. League Nights at Full Grip Games. Let me pull up my notes, make sure I have names for everybody. All right. And let's begin. Round one of the Full Grip Games Standard League Night getting underway. We've got Ben Morse on the left versus Jack Martin on the right. Ben looking real fly in his nice corduroy button-up. Love that hat as well. And who could miss the Kamiya deck box over there with the beautiful Wailord on it? Honestly, Ben, what a handsome fellow. You know, Jack, wow. I mean, we got some handsome league goers, you know? Doesn't get any better than this. Sorry, I had to have some fun. We got Ben Morse right here in the chat with us. So, trying to make him blush a little bit. We've got 5 rounds for the Standard League Night tonight. This is round 1. Ben is playing Turbo Lost Box featuring Dragonite V, and Jack is playing Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Let's see. There we go. And they're going to shuffle up. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And it looks like things are getting underway. Jack is playing first and opens Goodra V. Ben has got Sableye. Jack attaches Capture Energy to Goodra V, and we'll take a quick look through his deck. Obviously, pulling Comfy up to the front, as he's going to want to set up Comfy so that he can start using that flower selecting ability to ship cards to the Lost Zone, and then hopefully use Mirage Gate to power up Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Now, typically, Goodra decks have a pretty good matchup against Lost Box decks, but this is a Turbo Lost Box deck that we're going to be seeing from Ben, which can get out of the gates quickly. So I'm interested to see how this one plays out. Jack also considering a Radiant Greninja. We'll see which one he chooses off of the Capture Energy. Off of Capture Energy, Jack grabs Radiant Greninja, and then we'll Quick Ball, discarding Scoop Up Nets to get Comfy and put it onto the bench. This is a pretty good setup from Jack, but would like to have a switch card to move that Goodra V safely to the bench. Jack benches another Goodra V and unfortunately just has to pass. No switch card and no energy in his hand in order to use Greninja's concealed cards. And now the ball is in Ben's court. Ben will start off with Battle VIP Pass, which allows him to search his deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them straight onto the bench. And we see Ben taking a look at which cards he has prized, counting his energy and his Pokemon. It's really important in Lost Box to figure out what resources you have in order to play out the game, since your resources are usually very tight in each game that you play. With Battle VIP Pass, Ben will get Comfy and Radiant Greninja. Wow, a very similar start from both players, searching out those consistency Pokemon. We'll see if Ben is able to get them into the active spots so that he can start churning through his deck. Looks like Ben does have Escape Rope and a Water Energy. He'll use Concealed Cards and finds a Colress's Experiment to look at the top 5 cards of his deck. He'll put 3 into his hand and 2 of them into the Lost Zone. And I'm sure Jack is looking longingly at Ben's hand right now, saying, goodness, I wish that was me, because Jack's hand is not looking nearly as strong as this one. Ben will ditch the Raikou and Manaphy and has a bunch of options. Switch carts will move the Sableye to the bench, and Comfey is ready to start using Flower Selecting. He has to choose between another Battle VIP Pass and Escape Rope. Selects the Battle VIP Pass, and will search out 2 more basic Pokemon to toss onto the bench. This is a explosive start from Ben. Exactly what he needs to get this game going. 3 cards already in the Lost Zone, and with this Battle VIP Pass, he'll be able to get even more Comfeys set up. I see a couple more switch cards in his hand as well, which he'll be able to use to pivot these Comfey in and out of the active spots. Now, this Lost Box deck features Dragonite V. Dragonite V is a powerful basic attacker with the Dragon Gale attack. Does 250 damage for 2 water and a lightning energy. It does do 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon, but that's a small price to pay for dishing out 250 damage. Scoop Up Net moves the Comfey to the bench, and we've got another Flower Selecting coming right up. Switch cart to the Lost Zone, and another Scoop Up Net for another Flower Selecting. This is exactly what you want to see from a Lost Box deck. I think that Ben feels comfortable putting that Dragonite V down on the bench, since it doesn't look as if Jack is anywhere close to attacking with Hisuian Goodra V-Star yet, with no cards in the Lost Zone. So putting that Dragonite into play is not very risky at all. Another switch cart comes down, and we'll see yet another Flower Selecting. And at this point, there are many cards in the Lost Zone turn 1. Let's take a look. 3, 4, 5. This is going to be the 6th card in the Lost Zone. So almost enough for a turn 1 Mirage Gate, but not quite there yet. We'll see if maybe there's a Cramorant Spit Innocently attack, but I don't see any way to pull that off in Ben's hand. So it might just be an energy onto Dragonite and a pass. There's a water energy going on to Dragonite V, and we'll pass it back to Jack. Does Jack find anything off the top of the deck? Colress's Experiment. Wow, what a bailout. Perfect top deck. We'll look at 5 cards and send 2 of them to the Lost Zone. The water energy is very good, but Battle VIP Pass and Temple of Sinnoh not doing too much in this matchup. The Lost Box deck plays almost entirely basic energy, so sending the Battle VIP Pass and Temple of Sinnoh to the Lost Zone, and hoping to find something off of this concealed cards. Does find another water energy with Scoop Up Net. Jack could reuse Radiant Greninja's concealed cards to see 2 more cards, but at this point, Jack desperately needs a switch to get this Hisuian Goodra V out of harm's way. It is very reasonable to expect that this Dragonite could attack next turn. And with the second concealed cards, Jack's able to find a switch to move that Goodra to safety and finally start using flower selecting. Has to choose between Hisuian, Goodra, V-Star, and a Metal Energy. Sends the Metal Energy to the Lost Zone, which is a tough choice because it would be really nice to attach that Metal Energy to the Goodra for turn, but instead is looking like he's going to miss an energy attachment, which is really bad. Both of these Goodra get evolved up, but there's not really too much else going on in Jack's hand right now. This is a big bummer. I mean, fortunately, was able to find that Colress's Experiments. Got 3 cards in the Lost Zone, but Ben, sitting pretty at 6 cards in the Lost Zone, is ready to pop off and start making some power plays next turn. So this is a tough position for Jack to be in. Jack has to pass it over to Ben. Ben's got another Colress's Experiment. 5 more cards. 2 more to the Lost Zone. Will send Ben over that 7-card threshold, allowing him to play Colress's, allowing him to play Mirage Gate to accelerate energy into play. Bit of a tough choice. Ben has already gotten rid of many switch cards with flower selecting, so probably doesn't want to get rid of too many more. And it looks like Ben is going to send Pokestop, and maybe that was a Mirage Gate to the Lost Zone, putting him at 8 cards in the Lost Zone, and now he's pretty much ready to party. Keeps Energy Recycler, Scoop Up Net, and the Psychic Energy. Flower selecting, sending Luminion to the Lost Zone, and now Ben is approaching that 10-card limit in the Lost Zone that it needs to surpass in order to Lost Mine with Sableye. Scoop Up Net enables yet another flower selecting, and we're up to 10. Sableye's Lost Mine attack places 12 damage counters on the opponent's side of the board, and with the Psychic Energy going on to Sableye, it looks like that is going to be the play from Ben. He's got an escape rope in his hand that will allow him to move that Sableye into the active spot so that he can soften up these Hisui and Goodra V-Stars and put them in range of Dragonite V. Ben considering a Mirage Gate to put more energy into play. Benches another Comfy. And will escape rope. It's not a great choice for Jack, but Radiant Greninja does make the most sense. You could move the Radiant Greninja. It looks like it's actually just going to be Hisui and Goodra V-Star. And now it's time for Lost Mine. And 7 damage counters get placed on Comfy to knock it out. And Ben will have 5 more damage counters to work with, placing 2 onto the bench to Hisui and Goodra V-Star and 3 onto the active. Does Jack find anything that helps him out of this? His hand is looking atrocious with only 3 cards in the Lost Zone. He's still 4 cards away from being able to use that Mirage Gate in his hand. This is terrible. No energy in the hand to work with either, so Radiant Greninja can't use its Concealed Cards ability to help churn through the deck. Ordinary Rod will allow Jack to put some more energy from his discard pile back into the deck. It does increase the odds that he'll be able to draw into an energy to maybe see a couple more cards with concealed cards, but this is a brutal start from Jack. It's going to be tough for him to come back, but if he can get this Hisuian Goodra V-Star powered up and swinging, it'll take 80 less damage from attacks, which is very good against this Lost Box deck. And Jack still has his Moisture Star V-Star power, which he has not used yet, which he can use to fully heal his Hisuian Goodra V-Stars. So, still some options on the table for Jack, but time is of the essence. He needs to draw out of this situation fast. Temple of Sinnoh comes down and pass to Ben. Ben's going to eye up his resources. He's got a water energy in his hand now. Could concealed cards it, draw some more cards, or just hold on to it. Looks like he's going to retreat into Dragonites, and now it is time to start swinging. Love this. Ordinary Rod. After the retreat, good sequencing to maximize the recovery of Ordinary Rod. We'll put the 2 basic energy back into the deck, and then Mirage Gate can accelerate 2 energy from the deck to his Pokemon in play. Needs a lightning energy to power up Dragonite V's attack, so does have that available. And there's also a water energy in his hand, so psychic energy will go onto Sableye, lightning onto the Dragonite V, and then with the water attachment from hand, Dragonite V will be able to take a knockout on this Hisuian Goodra V-Star this turn. That is a very powerful start. Very powerful turn. And Dragonite V is ready for Dragon Gale, but not before a Colress's Experiment. 5 more cards. And with the 4 Seal Stone, Ben will pretty much have access to his entire deck to close this game out. 4 Seal Stone's an amazing card for these Lost Box decks. You can just slap it onto a Pokemon V and then search your deck for whatever you want when you use it as your V-Star power. Super good. With 4 Seal Stone attached, Ben can kind of just save that for a future turn. We'll use concealed cards to draw 2 more cards. And Dragon Gale, 250 damage. That Hisuian Goodra V-Star didn't stand a chance. And Ben is going to advance to just 3 prize cards remaining. Jack is really up against a wall here. Has to promote Radiant Greninja. No Comfey in play either. This is terrible. Finds a Scoop Up Net, which isn't going to do it. Galarian Zigzagoon can place a damage counter with its Headbutt Tantrum ability, but Jack needs so much more than that right now. With Scoop Up Net, he could reuse Headbutt Tantrum, but my goodness, it's just devastating draws for Jack. Still so far from being able to use that Mirage Gate in his hand. Has to use Scoop Up Net to save the Greninja, because if he top decks an energy, he wants to be able to draw more cards. He needs more draw and just doesn't have it. Has to pass back over to Ben, and now the ball is just completely in Ben's court. Ben can use Switch Carts to heal that 10 damage off of Dragonite V, move to the bench, Sableye, move into the active spots, and with Lost Mine, Ben will be able to perfectly set up the game-winning knockout on Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Lost Mine can also knock out this Galarian Zigzagoon, putting Ben to just 2 prize cards remaining, and that's exactly what he does. Lost Mine sets up the Goodra. Jack could use Moisture Star to try and save the Goodra, but at this point, it's just absolute devastation on Jack's side of the board. And at this point, I think that Ben pretty much has it. Jack just passing it back. And I believe I see, there it is, escape rope will push that Goodra into the active spots. And Dragon Gale, 250 damage, will knock out the Hisuian Goodra V-Star, and Ben Morse is your round 1 winner at the Full Grip Games League Night Tournament. Congratulations to Ben. Tough draws for Jack. Better luck in your next game for sure. Ben advancing to 1-0 during the Wednesday night League Night events. GG's to both players. Go. There you go. Last round 1. Good stuff. That was fun. Now we got round 2. Chase, gosh, I do not know how to say Chase's last name. I got to ask him next time I see him. But Chase versus Dylan, cool. Well, let's do it. Y'all ready for this? Cue the jock jams. Round 2 is getting underway. We've got Chase on the left versus Dylan on the right. Excited to see how this matchup plays out. I believe that Dylan is playing Hisuian Goodra V-Star, and Chase has a Palkia V-Star deck. I don't know that I've ever watched this matchup play out, so we'll see which player is able to come out on top. And this game is getting started. Chase playing first, has Articuno in the active spots and a Capacious Bucket, which he can use to search out a couple of water energy, but doesn't have any search cards outside of Irida. So we'll have to wait until next turn in order to start setting up his board. Dylan just going to take a second to read that Articuno. Make sure that they're familiar with what it does. And Chase passes to Dylan. Dylan looks as if they've got a very strong hand with Radiant Greninja in the active spots. Quick Ball will discard Roxanne. And then they're going to take a look at the deck and see what they've got available. Maybe find a Comfy to start using flower selecting, or a Hisuian Goodra V-Star to set it up and start attaching energy. Looks like Quick Ball will find Hisuian Goodra V and place it straight onto the bench. And then Capture Energy will probably go on to the Hisuian Goodra V. Start getting that powered up. Capture Energy will more than likely find a Comfy. And there it is, Comfy onto the bench. And with this hand, looks as if Dylan will be able to move the Radiant Greninja out of the active spots so that Comfy can start using that flower selecting ability. Concealed cards is also an option with that metal energy. Looks like concealed cards first. We'll draw 2 cards. 2 Temple of Sinnoh. Not the most useful card right now, but that's fine. Switch will move the Radiant Greninja to the bench, and then Comfy will select some flowers. Top 2 cards, 1 goes to the hand, 1 goes to the Lost Zone. Has to choose between Escape Rope and Capture Energy. Capture Energy Go into the Lost Zone. Escape Rope will go to the hand. Just one card in the Lost Zone. No Colress's Experiments. And now Dylan has to decide if they want to scoop up net and reuse the Comfy instead. Just going to pass. Chase has Irida, and will play Irida, a supporter card that searches out a water Pokemon and an item card. And it looks like Chase wants Radiant Greninja. And then really tough because Chase would love to get a Battle VIP pass, but this is Chase's second turn. So unfortunately, Battle VIP pass is just a dead card in the deck right now. Irida gets Quick Ball and Radiant Greninja, then Quick Ball will discard Drapion V to probably go find a Sobble or a Palkia V. Looks like Sobble being considered, but Palkia V also a good choice. Something that Chase could do is that if you wanted to get both Sobble and Palkia, you actually wait until you wait to play the Quick Ball, right? Until after you use concealed cards. Because if you save the Palkia in the deck, then in this situation, you can increase the odds that you'll draw into a basic Pokemon if that's what you want to find. And I think that that would be a pretty valuable thing for Chase to do right now, considering his board is looking a little bit weak with just a single Palkia and Radiant Greninja. Concealed cards will draw 2. And see, if you had waited for the Quick Ball, then maybe you increase your odds of drawing a basic there, and then you can get both Palkia and Sobble, since that would be the ideal situation. Articuno is set up and, pretty close to attacking, though. Scoop Up Nets will allow Chase to reuse Greninja's concealed cards. And now at this point, Chase has to decide, does he want to Scoop Up Net and use concealed cards again, or take the knockouts with Wild Freeze? Looks like Articuno is going to use Wild Freeze for 70 damage, knocking out the poor Comfy, and 50 damage onto the Articuno. Dylan's up and has Radiant Greninja. Only one card in the Lost Zone, though. No Colress's Experiment has been found yet. So it's all up to this concealed cards. And there it is. Colress's Experiment right off the top. A perfect draw for Dylan. Now Dylan will play that Colress's Experiment and be able to send 2 more cards to the Lost Zone. Dylan would love to find another Comfy to Flower Select. Does find another Colress's Experiment, a Hisuian Goodra V-Star. Taking a look at the hand, the Hisuian Goodra V-Star definitely feels good to protect it from a potential knockout. Looks like Dylan's going to send Mirage Gate and Scoop Up Net to the Lost Zone. Keep the Goodra, the Colress, and the Boss. Not going to be the most explosive turn from Dylan, but Dylan is progressing towards that iron rollout, or rolling iron, with Hisui and Goodra V-Star. Another Metal Energy coming down into play, and that's a pass from Dylan. Hopefully next turn we'll be able to see a rolling iron from Goodra. Chase plays Capacious Buckets and will search his deck for 2 more Water Energy if he can find them. Looks like there is only 1 water left. Chase has been pretty aggressive with the concealed card so far. So in order to recover some of those Water Energy into play, we'll have to use the Origin Form Palkia V-Star's V-Star power. And we see Crabominable V in Chase's hand. That card is really strong and can take a knockout on the Hisuian Goodra V-Star. And we see Chase just drawing into all of these battle VIP pass. That is no good. Chase would have loved to play those early on in the game to set up Sobbles, but now this board has got no Sobbles whatsoever. Just a really sparse-looking board for a Palkia V-Star deck. Not what you want to see at all. Origin form Palkia V-Star does come down into play, and Wash Energy gets attached to it. But look how ugly this hand is. Just battle VIP passes. An Inteleon, but no Sobbles or Drizzile. Scoop up net, but no more water to use concealed cards. This is just a really, really ugly hand. There is a Raihan. That is the diamond in the rough. So if this Articuno does get knocked out, then Chase will be able to Raihan to put an extra water energy into play and search his deck for whatever card he wants. But at this point, is one card enough? Articuno's Wild Freeze will do another 70 damage, paralyzing the Radiant Greninja. Dylan needs a water energy to use Goodra V-Star's Rolling Iron attack to get this game moving. Dylan does have a Colress's Experiment in this hand and will play it. So look at 5 more cards looking for that water energy. Do they find it? No water energy here. Wow. No energy at all, actually. And Dylan's going to move up to 5 cards in the Lost Zone. Still short of being able to use a Mirage Gate. Dylan sends Ordinary Rod and Raihan to the Lost Zone. 5 cards Lost Zone now. Mirage Gates in the hands, but can't play them with just 5 cards in the Lost Zone. Goodra V is benched, and then Quick Ball, discard Temple of Sinnoh, and I bet that Dylan's going to look for a Comfy to maybe try Flower Selecting, or could switch into Cramorant and take this knockout on the Articuno. Both of those are good options. If Cramorant takes the knockout, then it does protect the Goodra, allows Dylan to take a prize card. Also, Galarian Zigzagoon could take this knockout with Headbutt Tantrum, which would be pretty funny as well. Looks like Dylan is going to go for the Cramorant, Spit Innocently. We'll take this knockout. I like this play. It also preserves the Radiant Greninja, which Dylan is going to want to help draw cards, considering they don't have any Comfy set up or anything like that. Cramorant comes down. This is a fine turn to play Temple of Sinnoh, since the Palkia doesn't have any, or does have a special energy on it. Scoop up nets will save the Greninja, heal it, switch it out of the active spots, and then Cramorant will Spit Innocently and knock out the Articuno. Dylan's going to take a prize, and Dylan decides to hold the Temple of Sinnoh. Sobble, finally! Finally, a Sobble. It's about time you decided to show up. Raihan will accelerate a water energy from the discard pile to Origin Form Palkia V-Star, and then Chase will search his deck for whatever card he wants and put it into his hand. But what card at this point can really save Dylan? Does he grab another Sobble or maybe a Drizzile for next turn? Irida could also be good to just continue finding more water Pokemon, since Irida can get a search card and a Sobble next turn. I think that's Irida seems like a safe bet, and we do see Chase kind of eyeing that up. Irida definitely seems reasonable, but could just go with another Sobble, but doesn't have a Drizzile in hand, so bit of a risky play. This is an awesome play if Chase is able to top deck an Irida, but doesn't have that guarantee going on right now. So just going hard of the cards with it and hoping to top deck out of this. Grabs the Sobble off of the Raihan. It's a little bit risky. And then Origin Form, Palkia V-Star, Subspace Swell, will take the knockout. Does 60 damage plus 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon. More than enough to take out that Cramorant with only 110 hit points. Goodra V-Star moves to the active spots. Does Dylan have a Water Energy? 5 cards in the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate's in hand, but doesn't have a way to power up this Goodra. So Dylan uses Quick Ball, discards Galarian Zigzagoon, and needs to find a Pokemon that's going to allow them to dig into the deck, and that's probably Comfy. I don't see a Lumineon V in the deck right now, so that's not an option. Dylan's going to grab Comfy, and I believe we'll switch it into the active spots. Comfy on the bench, and then Escape Rope potentially. Yes, Escape Rope. We'll move the Comfy into the active spot, and then Flower Selecting can dig 2 cards deeper and put that 6th card into the Lost Zone. But Dylan needs a 7th card in order to use the Mirage Gate in their hand. Here comes Escape Rope, Comfy, Flower Selecting. Does Dylan find anything off of this? Let's see. 2 cards. And we get a Switch and an Ordinary Rod. Not a lot. Not a lot. This is a real grindy game. 6th card going into the Lost Zone, still short of a Mirage Gate, and it's looking like they're just going to have to pass. Hisuian Goodra V-Star gets evolved on the bench, and now the Temple of Sinnoh comes down, which will turn that Wash Energy just into a colorless energy. And wow, what a top deck from Chase. There's the Drizzile, sure enough. Okay. Shady Dealings. Sometimes the heart of the cards pays off. Shady Dealings will go get Evolution Incense, then Evolution Incense, it looks like, will search out another Drizzile, and then Drizzile will Shady Dealings again. And we know that Chase does have an Inteleon in his hand with the Shady Dealings ability, so we'll be able to Shady Dealings for 2 trainer cards next turn. And off of the second Drizzile, Chase gets Boss's Orders. Has Crabominable V in his hand. Hasn't used Star Portal yet, so still has that option to accelerate energy into play. Could scoop up Nets, the Radiant Greninja, to move it. Doesn't want to use concealed cards anymore since there are too many water energy in that discard pile. The Temple of Sinnoh is forcing Chase to attach this 3rd water energy to Origin Form Palkia, which is actually really tough because Chase would love to commit that energy to something more useful like Crabominable V, but instead has to commit that energy to Palkia, and then is going to use Boss's Orders to target the benched Hisuian Goodra V-Star. And then Subspace Swell will be able to swing into the Goodra, dealing 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 180 damage. Unless another Pokemon gets benched. Looks like Chase is going to commit to the Star Portal V-Star power. I don't think that that's worth doing yet because this Origin Form Palkia V-Star is not under any pressure. So I think that Chase could have waited one more turn on the Star Portal. I understand wants to get that Crabominable V set up, but now those energies are committed, and Subspace Well will deal 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 200 damage to the Goodra V-Star. 60 damage plus 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon. I believe that Dylan does have a way to move this Goodra out of the active spot and hasn't used their V-Star power yet, so they should be chilling. And there's the Water Energy. Wow. Water Energy will go on to Hisuian Goodra V-Star, and now that thing is ready to roll out. Switch in hands can move the Goodra into the active spot. And we do see Moisture Star just completely removes that attack from the Palkia. It's gone. The damage was there, and now no more. Switch will put this fully loaded Goodra V-Star in the active spots, and Rolling Iron will do 200 damage to the Palkia V-Star. That's a lot of pressure, and Chase is going to have to figure out what he's going to do. Actually, Pump Fake, Boss's Orders, going to bring up the Crabominable V, and then Rolling Iron will do 200 damage to the Crabominable V instead. Dylan identifying that the Crabominable V is the biggest threat on Chase's board and getting ahead with an attack on that Crabominable V. Chase has Shady Dealings, Inteleon, and a Wash Energy. Has to be very careful with his energy at this point. Decides to concealed cards the Wash Energy, which I think is a really risky play considering how low Chase is on energy at this point in the game. Now, Shady Dealings will grab Chase any 2 trainer cards he wants from the deck and put them into his hand, and we'll see what he's thinking to try and deal with this Hisuian Goodra V-Star. This is a rough spot to be in, and this is one of the reasons why I think that Chase should have held off benching this Crabominable. The Palkia was not under any threat, and Chase's abilities weren't under any threat either, so could have... and here I'm telling Chase that he can't Shady Dealings straight for Inteleon. Needs to actually go get a trainer card. So here we go. The Shady Dealings is going to get Evolution in... Excuse me. The Shady Dealings is going to get Evolution Incense, which will get the Inteleon, but then Chase still gets one other card off of the Shady Dealings. And we see he's considering another Boss's Orders. And this play is a little bit sloppy, but what's happening is that Chase is using Shady Dealings for Evolution Incense for Inteleon, and then also Shady Dealings for Training Court. So that's what's happened there. Kind of a little bit of shortcutting. Everything kind of happened all at once, but Shady Dealings will grab Training Court and Evolution Incense. Evolution Incense will grab Rapid Strike Inteleon. And then Training Courts will get a Water Energy back from the discard pile into Chase's hand. Water Energy onto Inteleon. And Choice Belt going on to Crabominable V. And this Crabominable V, I mean, if there are 4 damage counters on the Hisuian Goodra V-Star, Crabominable V can take a one-hit knockout even through the damage reduction of Rolling Iron. Quick Shooting, though, will only have time to place 2 damage counters on the Hisuian Goodra V-Star. So this Crabominable is not doing what it is supposed to do with this Destroyer Punch. It's not doing nearly enough damage. Destroyer Punch does 90 damage plus 60 more damage for each damage counter already on the defending Pokemon. But the Hisuian Goodra V-Star used Rolling Iron last turn, so it's taking 80 less damage from attacks. So this Hisuian Goodra V-Star is still just weathering this hit with ease. And the Training Court is actually really good for Dylan, who wants desperately to draw more cards. Concealed cards will discard the Metal Energy that they found off of Training Court, and wow, there is Colress's Experiment. That is just the bailout that Dylan needed to get over the hump in this game. Dylan only had 6 cards in the Lost Zone. Now this Colress's Experiment will put Dylan to 8 cards in the Lost Zone, allowing them to use the Mirage Gate in their hand to power up the benched Hisuian Goodra V-Star. And we'll see if Chase has the juice to be able to take out 2 Goodras. 1 Goodra, that's one thing, but 2 Goodras, it's usually that second Goodra that gets you. Mirage Gates will accelerate a Metal Energy and Water Energy from the deck to the Goodra V-Star on the bench. And now Dylan looking like they are ready to party. Capture Energy in hand will be able to get that Hisuian Goodra on the bench fully loaded and ready to go, but decides to hold it. And Rolling Iron will take the knockout on Crabominable V. Am I saying that right? Crabominable? It's definitely Crabominable. Is it Crabominable? Crabominable? Crabominable. It's like the Abominable Snowman, but Crabominable. And thank you, Karen, for that Prime sub. It looks like Chase is going to scoop up net the Inteleon, Training Court back a Water, and then use Concealed cards. I can't help but think that Chase is going to be running extremely low on resources right now. Does have 2 Sobble on the bench, but very low on energy, and I don't see any ways to get energy back into play. That Star Portal V-Star power has already been used. So at this point, what can Chase do to take out that second Goodra V-Star? Chase is going to use Quick Shooting on Inteleon to soften up the benched Goodra V-Star, and then Subspace Swell will take a knockout, finishing off the Hisuian Goodra V-Star and sending Chase to just 2 prize cards remaining. But there is still a big Goodra V-Star stopping Chase from winning this game. Training Courts will get a Metal Energy from the discard pile back to Dylan's hands. Then Temple of Sinnoh will counter the Training Courts. Chase used Training Court to get the water energy back. All right. That's what happened. Yeah, it was court. It was court, guys. It was court. All right. Yeah, they scoop up netted the Intellion. It went to the discard pile. They used court. Yeah. I was on top of it. The Hisuian Goodra V-Star. It's got 3 energy and will use Rolling Iron for 200 damage. That Palkia has just got 80 hit points left. But can this Palkia deal with Hisuian Goodra V-Star? There just aren't enough benched Pokemon in play. This Palkia is not hitting for maximum damage. Quick shooting. And then shady dealings. And I think Chase thinks that he can Thornton the Palkia, but he can't. That's not how it works. Thornton only works on basic Pokemon. So I have to tell him that you can't Thornton that Palkia into the Crabominable. And unfortunately, that was his game plan. Oh, no. That was the game plan. Absolutely foiled. It looks like Chase is still kind of learning the ins and outs of this Palkia deck and is not able to finish that Goodra off. Thornton not working on the Origin Form Palkia V-Star. It's not how it works. So instead, going to have to settle for a Roxanne. But at this point, I don't think that there are any energy left in Chase's deck. So I don't know how he plans on taking out this Goodra V-Star. It's got way too many hit points. It's taking 80 less damage from attacks. Roxanne will limit Dylan's hand, but to what end? This Palkia V-Star is going down next turn. Guys, since this is League, did he Drizzile for Manaphy? No, he Drizziled for the Thornton. The Manaphy is from hand. And also, Chase is a newer player. He's still learning, okay? So take it easy on him. He's still learning, all right? He's still learning. We got a lot of newer players in League, all right? They're not, like, maliciously intending to cheat on camera. Nobody's trying to do that. So, what's happening here is that Chase tried to play Thornton on Palkia. I told him he wasn't allowed to do that. And so everybody allowed Chase to take that play back, all right? He still had to use the Drizzile for the Thornton, but this is but allowed him to use Roxanne instead of Thornton since he thought he could use Thornton for the win. I was not able to do that. All right, here we go. Play ball. With this hand, Chase does have Echoing Horn. And could bring up a Goodra from the discard pile. Chase has got another Shady Dealings, but at this point, this deck is looking tapped. There is nothing in here to save this board state. Chase has just run out of resources completely. And you can see how carefully you have to play with a deck like this with the limited amount of resources. You can't just conceal cards every turn. And this is turn 0 of time. You can't just conceal cards every turn. You can't just waste your Star Portal on a Pokemon before it gets to attack. You have to be very careful with your energy. Thank you, AP Mango, for that Prime sub. Chase will use Echoing Horn on Goodra. Put it onto the bench. And then has to retreat this Palkia if he doesn't want to lose. Well, I guess Dylan does have 3 prizes left, so this isn't going to be the game-winning attack from Dylan, but it does put Dylan on a course to be able to win in a couple of turns. So Dylan is turn 1 of time. Chase was turn 0. And Dylan on turn 1 of time will use Rolling Iron to take a knockout on the Palkia, putting them to just 1 prize card remaining. And now Chase will be turn 2 of time. But I don't think that Chase has any plays that he can make. It's got Raihan, but recovering 1 energy isn't going to cut it. All Chase can do at this point is try to avoid losing the game. So Raihan can get that water energy, and then maybe Chase can retreat into a Palkia to try and just stall. It looks like Palkia is going to get grabbed with the Raihan. And then Chase will retreat, and that's it. Doesn't really have anything else to do, just trying to avoid losing. But that Lumineon V in Dylan's hand could search out a game-winning boss's orders. And there we go. Escape rope will push the Palkia out of the active spots. And then Dylan has Switch in their hands. There we go. Switch will move the Comfy back to the bench, and then Rolling Iron will take the game-winning knockout, and Dylan advances to 2-0 at the Full Grip Games League Nights. GG's to both players. That was a tight one. Chase still learning that Palkia deck. We saw running out of resources, running out of steam there at the end. And Dylan, after a slow start, was able to persevere in the end and take the win. GG's. See, isn't this fun, chat? Isn't it fun watching the league goers? This is fun. I'm having fun. I tell you what, we brought the league goers back. Yeah, thanks, Dave, for the 100 bits. We brought the league goers back. Every time I brought the league goers back, they were really excited to come back in the studio, and we're like, dang, this is crazy. I tell you what, it's intimidating. It's intimidating coming to play up here as well. There's a lot of lights, okay? There's a lot of light. There's a camera. There's a lot of lights. I'm watching you, like right here. I'm just saying, it's kind of intimidating. Yo, thanks, JR, for the 1,000 bits. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. I'm telling you, there's lights everywhere. It's a lot. A lot of these players is probably their first time ever playing on camera too. So it's a wonderful experience for these guys to be able to to be able to. I'm really excited that these players are getting to play and then can watch their matches back, and they can probably learn a lot about that. Because at what point do you think that, many of these newer players are, when do you think that they've ever, been able to have their footage watched and talked about? You know what I mean? So I think that's a valuable experience is valuable. All right, here we go. Round 3, baby. Let's get into it. Round 3. We've got our hero, Dylan, from last round, back at it again with the Goodra deck, and is going to be facing off against Dave Cook. Dave Cook has got Lugia V-Star, has been playing the Lugia V-Star deck since day one. Dave was an early adopter of Lugia V-Star and has used it to great success at Full Grip Games so far. Has won a couple of league nights with it. The deck has served him well and is definitely his favorite deck in standard format right now. I know from talking to him about it. Big Lugia fan. Now, Dylan had a little bit of a slow start with their Goodra V-Star deck last game, but was able to come out on top in the end. And this matchup can be interesting. It's generally favored for Lugia, as Lugia can get out of the gates quick, start one-hit KOing the Goodras, and then even has amazing Eviltal, which can amazing destruction and instantly KO a Goodra if it doesn't have a big parasol on it. And to be honest, some Goodra decks aren't even playing big parasol. And it's at this point that Dylan is saying, I'm not going to lie, after being on stream, after watching your streams, it's really weird to be back here in the studio. Yeah. So fun to be able to bring these players up who might have seen the studio on stream before, to get to come into the studio and play a feature match, I think is a really fun opportunity for these players. So definitely excited to be able to offer that up. And round 3 is getting underway. Dylan with a mulligan hand. Dave does have a Pumpkaboo that he will start. And then Dave will get an extra card due to the mulligan. Whoa, that's zoom in. What I want is... All right, where'd my fast forward button go? This happened last time, too. My fast forward shortcut is turned into a zoom in shortcut. It's because I'm on QuickTime Player. There we go. That's what happened. This is what happened last time. See, there we go. Last time, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out why why my shortcuts had changed last time is because I wasn't using VLC. So all right, here we go. Yo, thanks, Fampy. Fampy, who are you? Are you Dylan? Or Dave? Fampy's Dave. Oh, okay. What's up, What's up, Dave? We got Dave Cook in the chat, everybody. Fampy the pirate. All right. Well, let's let him cook, shall we? Now, there's some mulligans to get this game started. Dave has got a Pumpkaboo active, and Dylan's gonna shuffle up. Mulligan number 2. You hate to give Lugia V-Star any extra ammunition. You really do. Mulligan 3. Oof. It's at this point that you start questioning life choices that brought you here. And finally, Dylan is able to find a basic, but after 3 mulligans, going to give Dave a huge boost to start this game. And Dave has the absolute dream in his hand. Ultra Ball away, 2 Archeops. Pure skill right there. Doesn't get any better than that, folks. When you play Ultra Ball, you pretty much always want to discard 2 Archeops. It's exactly what you want. Now, Dave is going to be able to use this Ultra Ball to take a look at his deck, see what he's got prized, see what he has available, and search out a Lugia V. And there's not just 1 Ultra Ball in this hand. There are 3. And an Evolution Incense. So this is a pretty glorious hand. Really has everything that Dave needs to get going. And the crazy thing about Lugia is you don't even really need any draw supporters. If you just have Ultra Balls and Archeops in your hand, that's it. That's all you need. Draw supporters in Lugia are really just meant to help you get Ultra Balls and Archeopses into your hand. And thank you, Maddie G, for that sub in the 23 months. Evolution Incense will go get yet another Archeops. And Dave, going the distance, says, I don't care about 2 Archeops in the discard pile. I want 3. Now, I do think, watching this play, Dave got a little bit too excited about sending this 3rd Archeops to the discard pile, because I don't like having to Ultra Ball any of these cards away. I think that you can say the Goodra deck is definitely not going to Marnie turn 1. That's just not what happens. Goodra is pretty much always going for Culver's Experiment. So you can say with confidence this hand is not going to get disrupted, and I don't like committing any of these cards to this Ultra Ball. So I think Dave could have waited on this Ultra Ball for next turn, but is already committed to it. And I don't like discarding this Bird Keeper either, because the Pumpkaboo has a retreat cost of 2. And with Ultra Ball in hand, Bird Keeper would be the perfect supporter for next turn, because it would move the pumpkin to the bench and allow Dave to just accelerate energy onto the Lugia and get attacking. So a little bit of a tough call there with the Ultra Ball. I understand wanting to keep the Serena, but at this point, I have to say, I think that the Bird Keeper would have been the most valuable choice to keep, and then the Serena could have gone to the discard pile. Culver's Experiments, turn 1 from Dylan. This is great for them. Exactly what they want turn 1. Took them a couple of turns to find 1 last game, so this is already a better start than the previous match. And we see 2 Mirage Gates off of that Culver's Experiment. Dylan will send Lumineon and one of the 2 Mirage Gates to the Lost Zone. Keep 3. And do they have anything else? Capture Energy and Quick Ball. Both good cards for this situation. Capture Energy can get another basic Pokemon to the bench, and Quick Ball can get another. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to see a Radiant Greninja, maybe a Concealed Cards, and a Comfy. Dylan is still looking for a switch card, though. Would love to find a switch to move this Goodra out of harm's way. Doesn't have one currently, so that's going to be on the top of the list of things that Dylan wants to find off of this incoming concealed cards, assuming that concealed cards is what we go for. Quick Ball, and Dylan is searching the deck. We see Greninja is the grab, and we'll go straight to the bench. And then I suspect that Dylan will go back in with Capture Energy. Capture Energy on the Goodra. And here we go, Comfy. And that's the perfect 1-2 that you want. However, this Goodra V is not safe. Very much so. This Goodra V could definitely get knocked out. So Dylan's going to want to move this thing to the bench if they can. Off of concealed cards, Dylan finds another Capture Energy and Galarian Zigzagoon, but can't use the Capture Energy. Scoop up nets. Will reset Radiant Greninja and another concealed card for 2. Oh, and still no way to move this Goodra. This is tough. Temple of Sinnoh does turn off all effects of special energy, and with Pumpkaboo in the active spot, that Temple of Sinnoh might be difficult for Dave to remove. However, Lugia V-Star's Tempest Dive attack does 220 damage, and even though the special energy are turned off by the effect of Temple of Sinnoh, they're not negated as energy cards, and Lugia V-Star can still do 220 damage for 4 energy, which is enough to knock out the Goodra V-Star. Lugia V-Star will use Summoning Star to place 2 Archeops from the discard pile straight onto the bench. Totally broken. And now we've got 2 Archeops in play, ready to pump 4 special energy into play every turn. 4 special energy. My goodness. I don't think that there is, in the history of the Pokemon TCG, I don't know that there has ever been a way to this simply accelerate energy into play. It's just like, it's the fastest, easiest energy accelerator in the history of the Pokemon TCG. Turn 2, double Archeops. In the history of the Pokemon TCG, I don't think there has ever been something that lets you this easily accelerate 4 energy into play every turn. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Dave will use Ultra Ball to discard Serena and Evolution Incense, get Lumineon, and use Professor's Research. And this is why I said I think Dave should have held that Bird Keeper, because if Dave had held Bird Keeper, he still had the Lugia V-Star, still had 2 Archeops in the discard pile, could use Primal Turbo, and would be able to save the energy that he's going to need to attach to the Pumpkaboo in order to retreat, and would have been able to save this Lumineon as well. So I think Dave having to pay for that greedy Ultra Ball right now by benching Lumineon, but does have Professor's Research to discard his hand and draw 7 cards. Now, Dave can still get the attack this turn, but has to attach an energy from hand to Lugia and then use 1 Primal Turbo to accelerate 2 energy onto Pumpkaboo and the other Primal Turbo to accelerate 2 energy onto Lugia. And you can see how much more resource intensive this line is than it would have been if Dave just kept the Bird Keeper. So really would have liked to see that Bird Keeper see play on turn 2, but with this line, Dave should still be in the clear. And Archeops is going to use Primal Turbo to accelerate 2 special energy from the deck into play. And Dave just kind of checking on his resources before he makes a commitment. The first Primal Turbo will accelerate 2 capture energy onto Pumpkaboo. And the second Primal Turbo will accelerate a powerful colorless energy and V-Guard energy onto the benched Lugia V-Star. Then Pumpkaboo will retreat to Lugia, powerful colorless energy from hand, and Tempest Dive will be able to do 220 damage and knock this Goodra V out, but Dave's going to play Quick Ball first, thinning the Dunsparce out of the deck, and just getting one more basic Pokemon from the deck into hands. Every card matters with Lugia, since Lugia doesn't play a ton of draw support. Being able to thin cards out of the deck so that you don't draw into them off the top is very important, so you want to make sure you're always making use of those best practices. Quick Ball will get a Rangaroo. No bench space for it, but it will go straight to the hand. And then Lugia V-Star's Tempest Dive attack, 220 damage, will knock out the Goodra V. And then Dave will take 2 prizes, and it discards the Temple of Sinnoh, reactivating those powerful special energy cards. Dylan's got another Culver's Experiment and finds another Goodra V. Would have liked to have 2 Goodra V down last turn, but whew, at least finds another one. But Dave gets to keep this big hand. And with a hand like this, you could very well assume that there might be a boss's orders in there. So Dylan's in a really terrible position. Quick Ball will discard Galarian Zigzagoon. And then we'll see what Dylan goes for. This might be the only... Is there a third Goodra V in the deck? Can they bench 2 this turn? Looks like they're going to go for another Comfey. They got to start using Flower Selecting, too, to get to that 7 cards in the Lost Zone. You could see how fast Lugia is, though. I mean, Lugia is just putting this Goodra deck out of commission before it even gets started. Flower Selecting finds Water Energy and Temple of Sinnoh, but we saw the Temple of Sinnoh doesn't even do anything. Lugia still does 220 damage, and it discards Temple of Sinnoh every time it attacks. Oh, it's so bad. Switch will move the bench Comfey into the active spots. And Flower Selecting 2 more cards. Another Switch and a Cramorant. Switch goes to the Lost Zone. 6 cards, Lost Zone now. And then what will Dylan do? Not enough cards in the Lost Zone in order to use Mirage Gate yet, so just kind of hanging out. Put a Metal Energy onto Goodra and pray. I guess that's the vibe right now. Maybe Temple of Sinnoh. Just a pass from Dylan. Oh no. This is about to get ugly. Archeops, Primal Turbo ×2. That's 4 special energy from the deck. Now, I don't think that David actually needs to commit these energies right now. You can kind of just wait. There's not really a lot of things that could go wrong, especially since Dave does have boss's orders in his hand. So he's going to be able to take out this Goodra. And those Archeops are not under any imminent threat. So I would like to see Dave kind of hold back on those Primal Turbos, and that's a mistake that I see pretty often with Lugia, is that since Archeops can accelerate 4 energy into play a turn, you could just hold back. You don't actually have to use your Primal Turbos for full effect every turn, because one way to lose with Lugia is to run out of energy. So you're never really stuck in a position where you can't put enough energy into play. Not often anyways, and especially in a dominant position like this. But what might happen is that, what if a Pumpkaboo got bossed up and then you run out of energy, right? What if Pumpkaboo gets bossed up and they put Temple of Sinnoh down and you run out of energy, right? Especially since Ultra Ball is discarding a capture energy here, you have to think at this point, as Dave, we already know how Dave wins. Dave can win by just taking 6 prizes, right? But what Dave needs to start thinking about is, how do I lose? And that's something that's going to really help, to grow as a player, is to think about all the ways that you could lose a game. And at this point, overextending energy could be a lose condition. So would like to see those Primal Turbos hold back a little bit from Dave. But Dave's still in a very commanding position and is pretty much just got the green light in this match to do whatever he wants. Boss's orders will bring up the Hisuian Goodra V on the bench, and 220 damage from that Tempest Dive. We'll take another knockout. Dave, just 2 prizes remaining, and you could see just how this Goodra deck is getting bullied right off the board. Cannot keep up with the pressure from this Lugia deck. Never really stood a chance. Boss's orders. Turn 2 knockout. I mean, what more can you do? Cramorant just has to spit innocently, and that is not going to be enough. 110 damage. Just so little at this point in the game. All Dave has to do is just announce 2 more attacks, and this game is a wrap. It looks like Dave's going to go in for another Primal Turbo. Really doesn't need to. I can't express enough. This is a potential lose condition for Dave. Accelerating those 2 energy onto Luminion. It's a potential route to lose. Got to be careful. That Pumpkaboo is really hefty with a retreat cost of 2. And we know that Dylan's deck plays Temple of Sinnoh. At this point, there are only 2 energy left. Now, there is only 1 energy left in Dave's deck. With the extra powerful colorless energy, I think a little bit too greedy. There's only 1 energy left in David's deck. If Dylan used boss's orders, Dave would deck out with Pumpkaboo in the active spot. But Dave has got the win. So hopefully Dave watches this back, understands Dylan had a win condition there at the end. And that might be something that's easy to overlook. But the Bird Keeper was discarded, and Dave had unnecessarily put every other energy in his deck into play. So at the end, if Dylan had had Temple of Sinnoh and Boss's Orders on the Pumpkaboo, then Dylan could have won that game. And as a player in a dominant position like Dave was, you don't ever want to give your opponent that opportunity to win, no matter how small it is. Cool. You guys ready for round 4? Let's do it. Isn't this crazy, bro? Tell me how my computer can highlight and copy that text off of the neon sign. The computer knows too much. All right. It knows too much, bro. Isn't that crazy? Why is that happening? Yeah, the glowing rock. You know? Tell me I can highlight the... All right, it's not letting me highlight the shirt. I'm impressed, though. All right, here we go. And here we go. Round 4 is getting started, and we have a Lugia V-Star mirror. The end game of our current standard format. All things boil down to this. It's always a Lugia mirror. You play enough standard format, you're gonna end up with a Lugia mirror. It's just how it goes. It's the best deck in the formats by a lot. Very difficult for any other deck to keep up with the speed, aggression, and consistency of Lugia V-Star. So, for round 4, we have got Dave Cook on the left versus Dylan Ryan on the right. Both players are playing Lugia, and we'll see how this matchup goes. Dave Cook has got Pumpkaboo and Lugia V in his hands, and Dylan, deciding who his starter is going to be, I think chose a Stoutland. And these players are competing for quite a bit of store credits. I believe first place will get about $50 of store credit tonight. Maybe a little bit more. And it looks like Dylan is going to be playing first. Opens Stoutland V and has a solid opening hand. Quick ball to discard Archeop. Quick ball to discard Archeops. And we'll search his deck for a basic Pokemon. He's going to take a quick scan through the deck. See what he's got available, what he's got prized. And probably find a Lugia V. And there it is. Quick ball turn 1. Discarding Archeops will place Lugia V onto the bench. And then Dylan's got a research for next turn. Powerful colorless energy in hand. And Dylan will attach the powerful colorless energy to Stoutland and pass. This is a really scary start for Dave, because Dave's got a 60 hit point Pumpkaboo in the active to Dylan's Stoutland V. And Stoutland V has the double dip fangs attack. And I'm just getting word that last night's first place got $70 in store credits. So nice little payout there for the winner. We'll get about $70 in store credits tonight. So yeah, I mean, if you're Dave, you got to be really concerned about that Pumpkaboo. Pumpkaboo's only got 60 hit points. Double dip fangs can do 60 damage easily with just one powerful colorless energy attached. And it takes a bonus prize card if it knocks out a basic Pokemon. And Pumpkaboo is a basic Pokemon with just the right amount of hit points. So this is a code red. Yeah. This is a code red. Now Dave's got Ultra Ball and discarding Archeops and Capture Energy. We'll be able to search his deck for a Pokemon. Deciding between a second Lugia and maybe a Rangaroo. It's a tough choice. Second Lugia is the safe play, but yeah, you know, sometimes you gotta to make a little risk in order to come back from behind. And I think at this point, Dave is very much going to be playing from behind. So skipping the second Lugia might be the risk that he has to take in order to potentially win this game. Now, going second, common wisdom would tell you you always have to get 2 Lugia. But in a situation like this, I think you pretty much you just lose if you get the second Lugia, because your opponent's going to go Stoutland the Pumpkaboo, knock out Lugia game. So you can't really rely on your opponent not having that. So I think you kind of have to make a calculated risk and say, my opponent's not going to knock out my only Lugia. Especially after a Marnie, right? You're getting ready to Marnie for turn. You say, all right, you're not going to knock out my only Lugia. But then again, Dylan's hand's pretty loaded, so maybe Dave did make the right call. It's just a really tough situation for Dave to be in. Dave will pass, and Dylan is on the play now with, I think, 3 Ultra Ball in his hand. Dylan's going to Ultra Ball away an Ultra Ball and another card. Go get maybe an Archeops. And then can Ultra Ball away the Archeops for potentially a Luminion or just for Lugia. We'll see which one Dylan decides to go for. Either way, Dylan is set up and in a fantastic position right now. Ultra Ball will discard Archeops and Choice Belts. And then, does Dylan go for Luminion or Lugia? Gonna go straight for the Lugia. And then Lugia V-Star will use that Summoning Star V-Star power. Get 2 Archeops onto the bench, and this is pretty much a wrap at this point. There is not a lot that Dave can do from this position. Opened that Pumpkaboo, Stoutland, gonna take 2 prizes with Double Dip Fangs on turn 2. It's just so aggressive. Primal Turbo pumping 4 special energy from the deck. And this is how crazy Lugia is. The Lugia player didn't even have to play a supporter off the Marnie. Nothing. They didn't even play a supporter. They don't even have a hand. No supporter. No hand. And it doesn't matter, because Archeops has been summoned into play, and now 4 special energy can get pumped into play every single turn. Stoutland's Double Dip Fangs taking 2 prizes on the poor Pumpkaboo. And what can Dave do from this position? His back's up against a wall already. It's such a tough spot to be in. And to make matters worse, the only draw card in Dave's hand is Luminion. It's terrible. Oh, so many liabilities in play. This is a disastrous situation for Dave. Absolutely disastrous. Dylan just had the perfect 4-card, 5-card hand off of that Marnie. Dave's hand is not looking so kind. Doesn't even have a Lugia V-Star, so has to use Luminous Sign to go get a supporter from the deck. Dave's going to get Professor's Research off of Luminous Sign and put it into his hand. Just send this whole hand to the discard pile. See 7 new cards. Looking for a Lugia V-Star. But at this point, 2 Choice Belts already committed, so Amazing Raikou probably not going to be able to make any miracle plays. Capture Energy could potentially get another basic Pokemon into play. Just So brutal. Having to discard an Aurora Energy here too doesn't feel good. Nothing to use this vacuum on. I think Dave's just considering which special energy to attach from hand before the research. Dave's going to attach Capture Energy to the active Lugia V, and then search his deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto the bench. We see Dave's going to get that. Oops, I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Dave's going to get that Oranguru and put it onto his bench. Primate Wisdom, and then Professor's Research to discard his hand and draw 7 cards. Dave finds an Ultra Ball, so he'll be able to search for a Lugia V-Star and put it into play. But has to decide what he's going to Ultra Ball away. And this is a 3 Aurora Energy in the hand. Such a ugly research. And that's what happens in Lugia. If you use Professor's Research before you set up Lugia V-Star, you very well may draw into a hand with 4 special energy in it. It's just the nature of the deck. The deck plays a quarter energy. I mean, 1/4 of the cards in the deck are energy cards. And once you get Archeops out, then you can easily thin the deck of energy, pumping 4 energy into play every turn. But until you get Archeops out, your deck is just flooded with energy. So David used Primate Wisdom to try and save an Aurora Energy, but ends up drawing into 2 more Aurora Energy. So with 3 Aurora Energy in the hand, he has to Ultra Ball 1 away in order to get Lugia V-Star. And Lugia V-Star will finally use Summoning Star to get the 2 Archeops into play. But, feels like too little too late. Primal Turbo can accelerate some energy onto this Lugia. The Lugia will be able to take a knockout. And at this point, what is Dave hoping? That maybe all of Dylan's powerful colorless energy are prized? Is that like, that's legitimately the hope here? Like, hoping that the opponent doesn't have powerful colorless? Now, if Dave has V-Guard, V-Guard could potentially make a difference with the math. Dylan did have to get rid of a Choice Belts, but I don't see V-Guard in the deck right now. Yeah, there's no V-Guard in the deck. So, no option to protect that Lugia from an incoming Tempest Dive. All Dylan will need is 2 powerful colorless energy, and he'll be able to take the knockouts. The second Primal Turbo will accelerate 2 powerful colorless energy to the bench Lugia. Oh, and that Lugia on the bench on Dylan's side of the board already has 2 powerful colorless energy on it. Ugh. So, if Dave had a V-Guard energy, maybe he could stop it. But with no V-Guard energy, this Lugia V-Star is a goner. There are already 2 powerful colorless energy on the Lugia. Dylan top decks Irida, and will be able to use Irida to search out an item card and Lumineon V, which will help set him up for the game-winning plays. Both players have 4 prizes remaining, but this game is not going to last very long. Irida will get Lumineon V and Quick Ball. And then Evolution Incense can thin another card out of the deck. Looks like Archeops is getting grabbed. And then Quick Ball can discard the Archeops and go get Dylan an attacker that he wants in order to follow up this Lugia. It looks like that attacker is Raikou. Raikou can take 2 prizes by knocking out an Archeops and an Oranguru, or can knock out Lumineon V. At this point, Dylan just needs to find a way to map out his final 4 prize cards. It looks like, yep, Primal Turbo. Going to pump some more energy into play. Dylan does still have a Choice Belt in his deck and the 3rd powerful colorless energy, so this Lugia V-Star is swinging for 300 damage. And that's what, like, if Dave had the V-Guard energy in his hand, maybe this Lugia hangs on by 10 hit points if V-Guard energy is in the deck, but there is no V-Guard in the deck. However, Dylan did top deck Irida, so would have been able to use Irida to go find Choice Belt and then fix the math to... So actually, there's nothing. there's nothing that Dave could have done because Dylan has all the answers. So it's not looking good. Yeah, Irida would have gotten Choice Belt. Instead, Irida gets Quick Ball for Raikou, and now that Raikou's set up with 2 Aurora energy on it, which feels very bad if you're Dave. But it's got to be feeling great if you were Dylan, cruising towards a round 4 win. Now Dave is in a really bad spot because he knows that Dylan just used Irida to get Lumineon V into the hand. So that Lumineon V can go get a game-winning Boss's Orders or Serena to bring up Lumineon and knock it out for a final 2 prizes. So in this point, what can you do? Lugia V is pretty much a goner. Lumineon is pretty much a goner. And that's why I said Dave might have needed to take the risk of only benching 1 Lugia V early in the game so that his board could be made up of single prizers at this point. I think that's the only way that Dave is able to make a comeback in this game is if he just limits his board to single prizers only. But at this point, Dave kind of knows. He sees the writing on the wall, and he's like, all right, you got it. I got no V-Guard, no Raikou, no Lugia V-Star. And that's game over. Dave just saying, you know what? You went first. You got it. And all of my answers were prized. That is the Lugia mirror for you. So Dylan Ryan going to advance to 4-0 here at the Full Grip Games League Tournaments. Just 1 win away from the perfect 5-0 sweep. GG's, GG's. Go. Our final match of the night. Yeah. So there were like almost 20 players last night. The way the tournaments work, it's a $10 buy-in, and then it's 100% payout in store credit. So if we have 100% payout to the top 4 finishers in store credit. So if we have 20 players, then that means that there is $200 in the pool. So then first place last night got $70, and then it's like first place gets $70, and then the second and third get like whatever, and fourth gets whatever, right? So yeah, and our league starts at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. So best of 3 is not an option because we had 5 rounds last night and it went until 11. I don't know about you guys, but most people ain't staying up till 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. Also, for locals, I don't know about you guys. I'm not trying to play best of 3 for a tournament that's not like a 1K, at least. I don't want to play best of 3 Swiss unless there's like... Now, maybe it's just me. But I'm not trying to play best of 3 unless there's $1,000 on the line. Straight up. I ain't playing best of 3 for no $50. Bro, my time is worth more money than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't going to sit around in a card shop all day. Yeah, best of one is better for small tournaments. Best of three is good for big regionals, big tournaments, stuff like that. Yeah, Dart says that the 1K they played on Sunday started at noon and Top Cut started at 8 p.m. That's 8 hours of Swiss for a 1K. I mean, it's a lot. So we're talking you know, for league that happens twice a week, because that's what we got. We literally got Wednesday league and we got Thursday league. For league that happens twice a week, you want it to be sustainable, right? Like, I'm considering playing in Gym Leader Challenge League tonight. If you told me it was best of 3, I wouldn't show up. And I love playing Gym Leader Challenge. It's just ain't nobody got time for that. I'm trying to sit down, play a handful of games, and go home and have a good night. Yeah. Even so, if you got 5 rounds, 50 minutes, best of 3, that's an hour a round, because you got every match is going to go to time. Every single one. Okay? Every single one's going to go to time. So you're going to have 60-minute rounds minimum. So you're talking every 5 hours minimum for your league night on like a weeknight? No. Well, Magic the Gathering is a different game than Pokemon as well. They're just different games, so. Yeah, and we actually have a lot of players travel to our league from like, we'll drive 40 minutes to our league. So you're adding that on top. It's like, you need a sustainable experience. Honestly, I would much rather play. It's super sick being able to go in, $10 entry, best of 1. You're out in a few hours. You have an opportunity to win like $70. That's like most of a booster box, or that's like all of an elite trainer. Like, so like and the goal is not to take like forever, you know, it's like, think of it like the goal is to get players to want to come back week after week. Right? Keep things fresh, keep things exciting, don't wear them out. It's perfect. Yeah. It's a few hours on a weeknight. You go, you hang out, you have fun. If it didn't go your way, you come back next week, right? Now, for our bigger tournaments, you know, when we were hosting like 5Ks and stuff, Swiss was best of 3. Yeah. We just like, for weeklies, it doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. I personally wouldn't play in a best of 3 weekly. I got no desire for that. Like I said, if I'm playing a best of 3 tournament, it better be like a 5K or something. You know, better have some money on the line. I'll spend all day in a card shop for that. But I think like single game Swiss, few hour experience, in and out, sustainable for the tournament organizers, sustainable for the community. And, you know, if it doesn't go your way, you come back next week. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, 5 games, best of 1 is like chill. Well, because we have 4-1s win all the time. Because since it is best of 1, it's pretty tough to go 5-0. So, do I do best of 3 for testing, or just play? We in testing we just alternate back and forth. Like who goes first. Koro says, best of 1 feels me leaving like I could have done better, which brings me back next week. Well, that's what I'm saying. And then, you know, in Gym Leader Challenge, you don't even need best of 3. Straight up. Best of one's fine and Gym Leader Challenge. And you know what? It's kind of interesting because in the history of the Pokemon TCG, like in the early days, there was no best of 3. So it just says something about the state of the format that you feel like you didn't get to play in a best of 1. Because good Pokemon formats are fine in best of 1. If I'm being honest, good Pokemon formats are fine in best of 1. Like Gym Leader Challenge or 2006. Best of 3 wasn't a thing until like 2015, 2014. 2013. Yeah, so up until 2013, there was no best of 3 in Pokemon. So, yeah, so it's interesting. But I think that it's just it's a reasonable expectation for a lot of people to come out on a Wednesday night. League starts at 7. 7 start time gives players time to like get off of work and then make the commute over, right? Grab themselves a little dinner, and then you play from like 7 to 10. That's like, in my mind, that's the perfect league. You know, people got families, people got stuff to do, dogs, cats, stuff to look after, people to take care of. You know, committing more than 4 hours to a league night is not a reasonable expectation for a lot of people. You know, in my mind, league should be a nice little 3-hour experience. League Cups, which are the next step up. So like league should be like a nice little 3-hour experience. League Cups, which, you know, TPCI hasn't brought back yet. So many people here probably don't even know what a League Cup is, but League Cups are a single game Swiss experience with a best of 3 top cut. And I still wouldn't want, if you told me, and League Cups give out championship points. If you told me I had to do best of 3 Swiss for a League Cup, I would not show up. I am not showing up, dog. Heck no. The winner of a League Cup gets like a booster box. Man, I ain't playing no best of 3 Swiss for no booster box. Yeah, League Cups literally are my least favorite experience. I hate League Cups. Why? Because it takes all day and you win a booster box. Who cares? Yes. Lampuerto gets it. Nothing fun about playing any TCG for 8 hours for a small prize pool. Terrible. Now, at a regional, that's fine. Best of 3, fine for a regional. Fine. You know, there's thousands of dollars on the line. It's a big deal. I get it. But if you told me that we could do 12 rounds of Swiss day 1, not best of 3, I'd think about it. Nine rounds best of 3 or 12 rounds single game Swiss. You got me thinking. I would 12 round single game Swiss, bro. I think. Go ahead. Ask me if they don't play best of 3 in Japan. Right? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't do best of 3 Swiss in Japan, right? Single games over there. That's what I'm saying. Day 1, 12 round, best of 1 regionals. 100%. Man, I got some fond memories of... Yeah, best of 1 in Japan, no ties. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Well, think about it this way. Comeback potential in single game Swiss is just that, like, a game didn't go your way, so then you go to the next game because you have 12 rounds. So it's like you can have a couple of bad draws. That's fine, so long as like 10 of them went well. I agree. Best of one majors would change up deck building in an interesting way. I agree. I think I would fully embrace best of one 12 rounds. Frankly. Best of three is fine. I feel like I'm good at best of three. You know, at this point in my life, I've spent a significant chunk of time learning to play the best of three model, which Pokemon as a game is not designed for. Pokemon as a trading card game, let me reiterate this to all of you. The Pokemon trading card game was not designed for a 50-minute best of three format. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The Pokemon trading card game was not designed for 50 minutes best of three. They literally just took that from Magic and imported it into Pokemon, and that's why so many of you are like, I can't finish 3 games in 50 minutes. Of course you can't. Of course you can't. You're never supposed to. You were never supposed to, bro. Of course you can't finish 3 games in 50 minutes. But so weirdly, so now it's like the game is in a position where it's like standard format is kind of just so sacky that it's just like, oh, I scoop this game. I scoop this game. I scoop this game. Right? Because you know, it's like, all right, we don't have time for 50-minute best of three. A lot of times, if I play 2 games, the 2 games will go to 50 minutes, right? So, yeah. So, nobody plays 3 games in 50 minutes. Almost nobody. So then I think Crypto Night, what we're all wanting is a format that is good enough for a best of one experience, right? And also, so the way they make up for it, so say like, yeah, the format's not great, so then we have to play best of 3 since the single games are not as rewarding. So then what you do instead of playing best of 3 is you just play more rounds. So you still get like a bigger... You get more rounds to play. I mean, 12 rounds. You're playing against 12 different decks, right? 12 different players. Dustoff says there's way too much variance in best of one to be healthy for long-term play. It's just not true. It's how they do it in Japan. And in Japan, the game is way more popular than it is here. I'm just saying, you know, if you look at it like, they don't do best of 3 Swiss in Japan. So it's at least something that it's at least like a conversation that can be had. You know, I've had a lot of success in best of 3 formats, but I wouldn't mind it if it went back. I tell you what, though, I would never play in a locals that was best of 3, and I would never play in a League Cup that was best of 3. Never. Wasting my time, bro. Yeah. You are wasting my time. Tell me I'm going to a league challenge best of 3. No, I'm not. Also, how many times it's like if the coin flip matters so much that it's like, cool, the player who goes first in game 1 wins game 1, you lose game 2 because you went second, and then you win game 3 because you went first. So it's like, so what does the best of 3 matter? It's just like, cool. So what happens is, I mean, that still happens all the time. So what happens is you go first, you win, then you go second, you scoop on turn 2, and then you go first game 3 and win. And that's how you avoid the tie. You played a turn 2 on the game you went second just to make sure your opponent didn't dead draw. As soon as they show you the Lugia V-Star, it's like, all right. So what I'm saying is that it's at least an interesting conversation between best of 1, best of 3. It's not like one's explicitly better than the other. Like I do, think that all Top Cut games should always be best of 3. And yeah. And I remember, I mean, I played in formats that were best of 1 before as well. So it's an interesting conversation to have because Pokemon is a game that doesn't really fit. Good Pokemon game. All right. I'm go ahead and the best Pokemon formats. You can't play 3 reasonable games in 50 minutes. The best Pokemon formats. 2006. Do you think could you play Gym Leader Challenge in a 50-minute best of 3? No. How about 2006? No. Why? Really skill-intensive games, a lot of different decisions to make, a lot of different turning points in each match. You can't fit 3 games into 50 minutes. So, the best design formats don't need to be 50 minutes best of 3. You see what I'm saying? But then what you have, like in a Gym Leader Challenge game, you have a 35-minute experience that feels more complete and rewarding than a 50-minute experience where, where both players can feel frustrated that, maybe they're just... So... what I'm saying is that there's at least an interesting conversation to be had. I think that 50 minutes, best of 3, I feel like it's fine for regionals right now. I wouldn't change it. I agree, Saucy. I agree. I feel like 50-minute best of 3 is fine for regionals. I don't think that it needs to be changed right now. The format's still, it's super fast, super aggressive. Like, that's just what it is. And then also, I don't really have any... At this point, I've been playing the game for over 10 years, so I don't really have any issues finishing a 50-minute best of 3, so long as my opponent... And usually, even if my opponent's slow, I'll just tell them that they got to speed up, straight up. Like, bro, yeah, we ain't got time. Whatever it is you're trying to do over there, we ain't got time for that. You're going to have to hurry up. Yeah. Hey, you're going to have to cut that stuff out. And... chop, chop, right? And that's another part of not tying. So there's a lot of skills that you have to have in order to not tie in best of 3. First of all, you need to be able to play quick. Second of all, you need to know when to not check your prizes. just go. Go. Yeah, you definitely, sometimes you just got to go. Why? Because you ain't got time. So you have to be able to just, it's either there or it's not. It's in God's hands. That's what it is. So sometimes you got to play like that. And by sometimes, I mean often, because you don't have time to like to play flawlessly. So learning how to play as flawlessly as possible in the time constraints that's the skill. It's not how to make the perfect decision every single time. It's how to play as flawlessly as possible in the time constraint. Then you also have to know how to keep your opponents honest, because if they are taking too much time, that is your collective time. It's not my turns aren't my time and your turns are your time. This time here is time that we are sharing together. So we need to work as a team to resolve this match in 50 minutes. So that's like, that kind of needs to be a thing. You need to consider the time as both players' time, it's both players' resource. So if your opponent's hogging all of it, you just got to responsibly tell them. So that's just what it is. It's part of being a good best-of-3 player. But it's not like Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a game that's designed for 50-minute best-of-3. So, yeah. Anyways, I like locals being best of 1. I like small tournaments being best of 1. I like bigger tournaments with like thousands of dollars on the line. Those can be best of 3. Formats like Gym Leader Challenge, retro formats, RSPK 2006, those formats, they don't need to be best of 3 because they're slower formats where one game usually is sufficient. So there are some formats where a best of 3 would take 2 hours. like straight up. And it's like, that's not a reasonable amount of time. So like so then you start getting into game design theory. Like what's a reasonable amount of time to expect players to want to play to resolve a match? That's like saying, like, what's the ideal amount of time for a basketball game, or for like for a football game, or for a soccer game, or whatever. What's the ideal amount of time to play? And you're getting into like game design theory and stuff like that. So anyways, let's get into our final match. Let's do it. But yeah, for locals and small tournaments, I'm big best of 1 pilled. For regionals, 5Ks, 10Ks, big tournaments, I'll do best of 3 for those, sure. But for a local, yeah, don't waste my time. Yeah, I got bills to pay and mouths to feed, I got stuff to do. All right, these players are gearing up for the final round of the Full Grip Games League tournament. We have got Joe Cornell on the left versus Dylan Ryan, who we just saw last round, with his Lugia deck on the right. Joe playing Lost Box, featuring Raikou and Dragonites, and Dylan playing Lugia V-Star. Joe kicking the game off with a Comfy in the active and Battle VIP pass. We'll be able to search out 2 basic Pokemon from the deck and put them straight onto the bench. We see Joe looking at that Radiant Greninja. Radiant Greninja is one of the most popular cards to get early on in these Lost Box decks for its Concealed Cards ability, which allows you to discard an energy from your hand and draw 2 cards. Great for gaining hand advantage early on in the match. Speaking of hand advantage, I do see a Marnie in Dylan's hand, so Dylan might be able to play that Marnie, try to slow down this Lost Box deck before it can get fully juiced up and ready to go. Flower selecting number 1 sends Sableye to the Lost Zone. Escape Rope and another flower selecting will put a Scoop Up Net into the Lost Zone. Concealed Cards discards Lightning, draws 2 more. And will there be another flower selecting? Looks like just water energy onto Greninja and a pass. Dylan's got Lugia V off the top of the deck. And Evolution Incense probably going to get an Archeops. I do see Quick Ball and Ultra Ball in the hand. So Dylan will be able to get an Archeops into the discard pile turn 1 and Marnie. So a pretty solid start from the Lugia deck. It's about as much as you could hope for. I do think that Dylan will want to set up a Stoutland V. So hopefully Stoutland V is in the deck. Stoutland's Double Dip Fangs is crucial for this matchup to put pressure on these Comfies. And I do see Stoutland in the deck. Evolution Incense going to get Archeops, and then I suspect that Archeops will find its way to the discard pile. As soon as Dylan realizes that he's going back in. And there we go. 2 Archeops. The dream. If only all Lugia hands could look like this. Ultra Ball away, 2 Archeops to the discard pile. Turn 1 feels good. And then I'd like to see a Stoutland come down, as I think that Stoutland is the most important Pokemon to set up early in this matchup. Instead, Dylan going for Lugia V. I don't think the second Lugia is really necessary. I actually feel like the second Lugia is too much of a liability in this matchup. You really just want to go Stoutland, Lugia, and then single prizers if you can. Early Raikou can also be very good, especially after this Marnie, but I really don't expect another thing. Yeah, it's just another thing. Getting the second Lugia means that if Joe is able to find Escape Rope, you know, maybe Joe can Escape Rope and knock out one of these Lugias since he probably has Raikou to hit for weakness. There is an Oranguru, though, so at the very least, I would have really liked to see that Oranguru get benched. I mean, you could see how much stronger Dylan's board would be if it was a Lugia V and a Stoutland on the bench right now, because if, say, you know, Joe wanted to go turn 2 Raikou V, then Raikou V could Escape Rope, you know, and then push up something, but it wouldn't be, you know, a Lugia guarantee. It'd be like maybe Stoutland, and then Stoutland can take a hit from Raikou. So I think that this is like a small misplay on Dylan's part, setting up 2 Lugias. Just too much of a liability, as Joe does have Pokemon that can easily lay waste to Lugias in his deck. And then also, if he's playing Sky Sealstone, I mean, that's just more opportunities to knock out a powerful Pokemon V-Star for 3 prizes, which you don't want to give this Lost Box deck at all. Joe finds a Colress's Experiment off that Marnie and is really cooking now. Finds Forest Sealstone, which can allow him to search his deck for whatever he wants if he has a Pokemon V in play. And I do see Quick Balls in that hand, so he'll have his choice of basic Pokemon to go get. And at this point, I mean, with 6 cards in the Lost Zone, Joe is really cooking, and it's very possible that Joe could knock out one of these Lugias right now. And there's the escape rope. Lugia is in the active spots. This is why I would have really liked to see that Oranguru get benched. You have to know, you have to suspect that your opponent might escape rope and go for a big knockout. I really think that this is it's a misplay on Dylan's part. He needs to bench that Oranguru. I understand why you might want to hold it. It's right there, though. You just bench it. And then you protect yourself from this escape rope play. Instead, Joe is able to escape rope up a Lugia. And now that Lugia is looking like a free 2 prizes for Joe. Joe's playing quick ball and can go find a Raikou V. And then has the Mirage Gate in hand and can accelerate energy to the Raikou and take a big knockout. So this could have been avoided. And so every little play matters with Lugia. There's not that many decisions to be made with the Lugia deck, but they do have to be the right ones. You can definitely rely on the strength of the deck to carry, as accelerating 4 energy into play every turn is incredibly strong. But, you know, when you get to these final matches and you get to the chance to go 5-0, you're going to have to really push the deck to the limits and make every little decision count. Joe's going to play Mirage Gate. Now that he has 7 cards in the Lost Zone, we'll attach a Psychic Energy to Comfy, Water Energy to Raikou V, and then there is a Lightning Energy in the hand, which he can attach to Raikou. So that Raikou is all set up and ready to roll. And we'll be able to take a quick turn 2 knockout on the Lugia V. And again, yeah, if that Oranguru was benched, the escape rope wouldn't be able to bring up a Lugia. And instead, this would be a single prize take, and that's not something that Joe would want to do. Wouldn't want to send up a Raikou in the face of a Lugia, to knock out an Oranguru for 1 prize. Fleet-footed will draw an extra card, and Lightning Rondo taking a big knockout on Lugia V on turn 2. Extremely strong start from Joe. Joe really leading the charge with this Turbo Lost Box deck. And Dylan is very much on the back foot, having to promote another Lugia. And again, I don't think that Dylan should have benched 2 Lugia on turn 1. Joe's board should have been 1 Lugia V, 1 Stoutland V, and then the Oranguru that he benched. Now we're getting Stoutland, and it's all feeling like a little too late because the damage has really already been done. But Lugia is still such a powerful deck that it's never too late to get out of it. Dylan's going to play Luminian V and has Luminous Sign to go get a supporter card from the deck and put it into his hands. See what he's going for. Has Juniper, Professor's Research, excuse me. Been playing too much Gym Leader Challenge. Professor's Research will allow him to discard his hand, see 7 cards, needs to find a Lugia V-Star. Does have 2 Archeops in the discard pile, a full bench now with 3 Pokemon. So I understand why Dylan didn't want to bench the Oranguru, because now you're like, okay, in order to get 2 Archeops into play, Luminian, Stoutland. But the Stoutland, arguably, the second Lugia should have always been a Stoutland, and then the Oranguru should have gone down, and you just are protecting your board better from those kind of early aggressive plays. So now we do see that Summoning Star come down. And I do think that the powerful colorless energy should have absolutely gone on to the Stoutland instead of the Lugia. The Lugia doesn't have any reason to have powerful colorless energy. And then committing another powerful colorless energy to Lugia feels really bad because Lugia just doesn't need to do 260 damage in this matchup at all. Lugia only needs to do 220 damage, or enough to knock out Raikou and Dragonite. So those powerful colorless energy definitely need to be saved for Stoutland, because Stoutland has double dip fangs, which only does 40 damage. So you need 2 powerful colorless energy to be able to do 80 damage to knock out both Comfey and Sableye. So I do think that Dylan should really consider where those powerful colorless energy are being located, because they're kind of a waste on Lugia right now. Tempest Dive will do 260 damage, taking the knockout on Raikou and tying this game up 4-4 prizes. Comfey's Flower Selecting will pump even more cards into the Lost Zone. We're at 8 now. And 9, Joe choosing between Lost Vacuum and a Mirage Gate. And now we are going to 10 cards in the Lost Zone. Enough for Sableye's Lost Mine Attack, Scoop Up Nets, and another Comfey. So if Joe can recover, here we are, Ordinary Rod. If Joe can recover that Raikou with some energy and put it back into play, Joe is going to be able to take another 2-prize knockout. And this is the danger of setting up 2 Lugia against a Lost Box deck. Joe shuffles the Raikou and 2 energy back in the deck with Ordinary Rod, and then uses Quick Ball to go get the Raikou, and then Mirage Gate in hand to put those 2 energy that he just shuffled back into the deck straight onto the Raikou V. And then Switch Cart will move the Raikou into the active spots. Another fleet-footed ability to draw an extra card. And Lightning Rondo going to take a huge knockout. And you can see how quickly this game is unfolding. Big knockouts back and forth. Raikou, Lugia, Raikou again. And with Raikou V in the active spots, Stoutland V will not have an easy target to knock out with double dip fangs. So Dylan is really backed into a corner right now. This is a tough spot. Lightning Rondo will send Joe to just 2 prizes remaining. Stoutland V gets promoted. And Dylan is in a bit of a pinch. Stoutland V can knock out Raikou. Manaphy gets benched, which prevents any sort of Kyogre from Celebrations shenanigans. But there's this Lumineon on the bench too. So there are ways for Joe to take the final 2 prizes that he needs. He can either knock out Stoutland or Lumineon. And he'll have a couple of turns to do it. Since at maximum, I mean, it is possible if there's enough powerful colorless left in the deck. I know Dylan did waste 2 powerful colorless on the Lugia. I really wish he hadn't have done that. But so long as there's 2 powerful colorless left in the deck, this Stoutland can still double dip Fangs a Comfey for game. So Stoutland can knock out the Raikou V with Wild Tackle, And then maybe if Dylan has like a Marnie, and I do see a Marnie in the hand, and there's the second powerful colorless energy, cutting it a little close, but still has enough powerful colorless to be able to knock out a Comfey. So the play is this. Wild Tackle will be able to knock out the Raikou, and then Marnie can disrupt Joe's hand, set him to just 4 cards, and then if Joe can't knock out the Stoutland, Stoutland can finish off a Comfey for 2 prizes with double dip fangs. So it all comes down to this. Lugia still has a very realistic chance to win this game, despite the fact that this Lost Box deck has been popping off like crazy. Wild Tackle will knock out the Raikou, put Dylan to just 2 prize cards remaining, 2-2. Joe has 5 cards to work with after the top deck, and there's a Flower Selecting into the Colress's Experiment. And Joe's going to do a quick count of his resources and see what he's got. You would think that the Colress's Experiment would be an immediate snap grab as he's looking to try and finish off this Stoutland V for game. But it looks like Joe's actually going to send the Colress's Experiment to the Lost Zone. And I like what he's doing here. He's actually thinning his deck because he knows that the game-winning cards are in his deck, so he needs to find them. So instead of just grabbing the Colress's Experiment, he's going to thin a Colress's Experiment out of his deck with Luminion. This is a really, that's a top-tier play right there. I like that a lot. He knows that if he doesn't hit this knockout on the Stoutland, he's going to lose the game. So he's maximizing every card that he can to increase the chances that he draws into the game-winning combination. That's a real heads-up play from Joe. Now we've got Flower Selecting, top 2 cards, and we find Mirage Gates. Oh no, this is Colress, excuse me. Colress's Experiments, 5 cards, and I see some good ones here. Sending Psychic and Colress to the Lost Zone. I think I saw Energy Recycler and Mirage Gate. This has got to be it. Energy Recycler, Mirage Gate, and the Forest Sealstone. Joe has not used his V-Star power yet. He's got it all right here. Quick Ball can discard Drapion and go get Dragonite V, and I think Dragonite V is going to be able to finish off this game. There it is, Dragonite V going down. Forest Sealstone on the Dragonite V, Water Energy, and Energy Recycler. Energy Recycler can shuffle 5 basic energy from the discard pile back into the deck, which is exactly what Joe needed to put the Lightning and the Water back in. Then Mirage Gates will accelerate those energies straight to the Dragonite V. Forest Sealstone to go get the game-winning scoop-up net, and that is game. Dragonite V with the game-winning knockout on Stoutland V. Dragon Gale for 250 damage, and Joe Cornell is your League Night champion with Turbo Lost Box featuring Raikou V and Dragonite V. 5-0, a perfect performance by Joe. GG's to both players, and thank you to everybody who came out to the Full Grip Games League Night. It was a lot of fun to record these matches. Everybody seemed to have a good time. Thank you to everybody joining me here on YouTube and on Twitch to watch back these matches. Hopefully you enjoyed them as much as I did. GG's. All right. Cool. That was fun. What'd you guys think about the card scans? The card scan kind of helps things flow, doesn't it? Now, that was my first time doing the the card scans. So I was learning as I My first time doing them on both sides like that, right? Like kind of pulling them up and doing them live. Well, I did them live last night. I put the card scans up last night. So as I was recording the footage, I was putting them up. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this stuff, right? In a realistic way. So for like the tournaments, I feel like this is the best way to do the tournaments right now. The editing should be, I mean, yeah, just like chop, chop, and then upload the whole thing. And I think like, since I've done it like this, honestly, I could just kind of edit out dead space and just upload it as an entire tournament, you know? I think that's, you know, that's what I'm going to do for like this one. Like this one, that was pretty cool. I was happy with how the whole tournament went. There were some pretty good matches. So I felt like this is one I can upload to YouTube as like a, you know, standard tournament at full grip. You know, we got to see Turbo Lost Box. We got to see Goodra. We got to see Lugia. We got to see Palkia. So that was a good one. I was happy with how those games went. I was happy with the production. I'm happy with how the stage looks. I feel like this looks slick. I like that. Thank you, Muff Brindo, for the sub in the 16 months. The names next to the players? Yeah. All right, I'll work on it. Well, I don't... So, like... The thing is, I haven't... I agree. You need, like... I decided I want to do, like, a prize counter. But I wanted to stay minimalist. I wanted to stay minimalist in its look. I like the focus to be on the cards. I don't want to have any crazy, like, pop over things. I do feel like the prizes are super visible, to be fair. The cards and the name. The record next to the name. Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, I could do all of that in post right now. Like, I mean, I could just do all of that for, like, the YouTube upload, right? Which I'll probably do. Just put, like, names and... Jesse says, Twitter handles too. I need the clout. What do you guys think? Should I have a spot for Twitter handles? Honestly... All right, I was thinking about how about like a teal blue. How about a teal blue flashbang every time somebody takes a prize? How about that? All right. I was also thinking, a wooden table is like kind of boring. So I was thinking about actually having players play on top of a TV. All right. So hear me out. Don't hate it. Don't knock it till you try it. I was thinking about, all right, you get like a big, I was thinking like a a 65-inch TV, all right? And players play on top of the 65-inch TV, and the 65-inch TV just plays this on repeat. Yeah. Because it just makes it more exciting. You know, Pokemon cards is just more exciting when you have, like, swirlies. Of course it's making you dizzy. This is all in jest. That was for humor. That was for joke. That was not serious. And then the flashbang when someone takes a prize. Nah, Robbie, that animation will make anybody with motion sickness motion sick, even without the zooming effect. The zooming effect was a nice little, the icing on top. Had to. I can confirm that watching that animation does make me very motion sick and queasy after about a minute. So I'll add a little bit of extra flair to the tabletop production. But I do want to keep it minimalist. So like a place for players' names would be good. Stick with this. Players' names going to be at the start of the match. That's true too. That's true because you could just fade the players' names out and then fade it back in at the end. Because I cut to like the two shot, right? You could have names flash up at the end and you could have names flash up at the beginning, right? How about that? Now I just need some nice lower thirds graphic designs. Unfortunately, graphic design is not my passion. I know. You would think. But I'm telling you I'm a terrible graphic designer. I'm not a graphic designer at all. Graphic design and art are like two entirely different things. Yeah, I think the names throughout could be important. I mean, it's like if you turn on a football game, you could always tell which teams are playing by the logos, right? I mean, so there should be some identifier as to what the players are. It also helps build story from week to week. So, yeah. There should be names. I agree. It helps build story from week to week. Also. You know, you remember, I remember this guy, he was playing this, he won the other week with this. Yeah. YRG, Pokemon Trading Card Game Live needs an art director, is what it needs. It needs an art director, and it needs animators with artistic experience, like good experience. First of all, you need an art director to come in and flip the whole thing on its head. Then you need animators who have years and years of experience. Yes. I typically offer players seltzer water when they come up to the fridge. I'm going to add, man, I need to get a seltzer water sponsor, bro, for real, because I ran out of Liquid Death, so I couldn't offer anybody Liquid Death yesterday. But I just had to make another order from Amazon, so. How replaceable is the neon sign? Bruh. You're going to have to live. I know. There's going to be some people who have a hard time with the fact that the sign says Gym Leader Challenge when they're playing standard. But the Gym Leader Challenge sign does go hard. Listen, I already got one full grip sign over there. But frankly, I'm not buying another full grip sign. I already bought that one out of the kindness of my own heart to do a better job advertising. But frankly, if Full Grip wants another sign, they should buy it. Not me. So I was not going to buy another Full Grip sign. Because that doesn't make any sense. Dragon Shield could put a nice sign there. To be honest, it'd be like, you know, I already have a Tricky Gym sign right here. So that's one. I've got my Full Grip sign, which is right here, which you guys see when I do tabletop over here. And then my Gym Leader Challenge sign. Now, the Gym Leader Challenge sign it's easy to move. I mean, it's hung right now. You could see those wires. I mean, it's hanging. I could just unhook it. It's one of the reasons why I hung it. So that I could move it around. But if you want to change up the sign, it's going to have to be a sponsor sign for real, because I ain't buying another one. I already bought that one, and I ain't buying another one, straight up. So, yeah, it would have to be, Dragon Shield could provide me with like a nice neon looking sign. That'd be sick. I'd take it. There we go. No, I think, yeah, Noah's got you just put, I'm just going to tape up not. Or I'll just do it in overlay for all the gotcha Andes in the chat. We're going to do this for all the gotcha Andes. Like, this isn't Gym Leader Challenge. We're going to say not. And we'll just keep this up there the whole time. On standard days. Do it like Bo Rat. Gym Leader Challenge. Not. Not. Oh man, that's good. That's good. Right, I think everybody's happy now, right? Good stuff. The Gym Leader Challenge sign looks dope. So, yeah. I think the Gym Leader Challenge sign is staying. That's the thing. No, I'm not making a neon sign that says standard. That's so lame. Like, why would I do that? So yeah, I'm really excited about the new sign. It does it. I'm telling you, it makes the room look a lot nicer too. Let's see. We upload my. I mean, look at the improvement from. Have you guys ever been to the Tricky Jim VODs YouTube channel? Crazy. You can watch all of the Tricky Jim streams. Let's see, when did I do Gym Leader Challenge? League. Which one of these? No. Yes? This is it. All right. I do some graph making. I do some reflecting on the olden times. So look at how much better that space looks with that sign, bro. What I'm trying to show you is how much better that space looks with that sign. I mean, that was this is what it looked like last week. Well, there's just nothing. There's nothing taking up that space. There's nothing filling that space. It's just like a void. And now it's like so much more focused. Yeah, now it looks pro, dude. Cleaner without the big poster. I know. Well, that's the only sign I have from Dragon Shield, but unfortunately it just doesn't look good. It looks good like in the studio, but it doesn't look good on camera. That's the reason why I have thanks, Trey. Trey has given this setup the Crunk seal of approval. I appreciate that. Yeah, unfortunately, my only banner that I have from Dragon Shield right now, I want to ask them for something else, because the banner I have from Dragon Shield is cool, but yeah, it's that big gaudy thing. One of the reasons that I love these skateboards so much is because those look great on camera. Like these things, they pop, they have a lot of light, a lot of bright colors. Yeah. The table, well, the thing is the table looks perfect like this. So, it's like, yeah, the table doesn't look perfect at this angle, but it does look perfect at this angle. So it's like, it's not worth it. So you let it reflect a little bit there. It does kind of it's a nice splash of light. I thought about a metal table would look dope. Like, dude, what if... I know, but it's cool. It's not the time right now. But a metal table, though? Hop onto Uline. You guys want to know you want to know the secrets to how I... That's what the metal table with a logo. It would look sick in my studio too. So yeah, this is what I use for. I literally just use a packing table. It's one of these things. Let's see. Yep, one of these. right here. You wouldn't think it, but this is exactly what I use. An industrial packing table. Now I don't set up these bars here so that players can put their legs underneath the table. But this is what I use. So, and you could like pretty much pick your size. You just get a big size, big wood packing table. But you could do like the stainless steel one though. Come on, I need you to load stainless steel packing table. Come on. Industrial packing tables, jumbo packing tables, heavy duty packing tables. I don't need any of those. I just need the industrial sized industrial packing table. Replacement packing table tops. Now that stainless steel. Okay. Oh, yeah. I wonder what the stainless steel ones look like. They're down here. How much they cost? Thank you, Ace Trainer. Merkowitz says, I'm standing at a U-line steel table right now. How's it look? All right, just $500. Easy. It's just the low price of $500. All right. You're gonna have to wait until the kitchen is done, guys. Yeah. Yeah. But that would look sick though, probably. Let's see. Stainless steel packing table. I want to see a picture of it. All right. Stainless steel packing table U-line. You got an image of me, image for me, Doug? I'm a visual. It might look terrible on camera, though. It might be too shiny, and it would definitely be cold. It might be too reflective. I think you gotta stay with wood. It's just, yeah, wood is goated when the vibes are playing cards. You don't want to play on a metal table. Yeah. Wood is low-key goated when the vibe is playing cards. Yeah. But I will admit that the color balance gets a little funky on the table right here. And metal would just go hard. It would look cool. But I'm not sure, like the practicality of playing on a metal table is probably not as nice. How did I put the Pokeball design on the table? With a vinyl sticker. Wood does give a nice sound when the dice roll. I agree with that. We have metal tables downstairs for the play area, and I don't like them as much. Did I measure 100 times before I put the sticker down? No, I really just winged it. Yeah, welcome to how I operate as a human being. I really just smacked it on there. You guys want to know what's absolutely crazy? If you guys want to know how absolutely unhinged I am, I hung this Gym Leader Challenge sign by myself with nobody helping me because I didn't feel like asking for help. And it's perfectly level. But I was only able to make it perfectly level. It's all right. There's 1, 2. I'm counting right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I ended up drilling six holes on accident. Well, not on accident. I ended up drilling 6 holes that I didn't use because they weren't in the right spots. So I got it, but I had to drill 6 holes up there, you know, that ended up not being the right ones. Yeah, I got 6 oopsie holes. Right. Yeah. But now it looks perfect. And you guys will never see the oopsie holes because they're above the brick. So what's it matter to you? Nothing. Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error. You know, and if I wanted to be more mathematical about it, I could have used a tape measure. I could have measured things. I could have... Now, I did use a level. Obviously, you have to use a level. But, like, I'm like... You know how hard it is to hang a 6-foot sign by yourself? Yeah, tape measure, that just seemed like a huge waste of time, honestly. And effort. And also, you know, everybody else who like works here has like a real job. You think that they want to help me hang my silly neon sign? Like, no. Like, oh yeah, hey, could you guys stop doing the things that actually makes the business money and help me hang my Jill Meter Challenge sign? Like, it's like you got to know your place, right? If you're gonna hang out in the silly room, goofing around all day, doing work, then you better not bother anybody else. You know? It's kind of what it is. It's the vibe. You don't want to. Every once in a while, I can bother Aaron for help with something, but I pick my battles. I know Aaron's always good to... Well, that's because Aaron loves a manual labor task every once in a while. You could tell. Because you get him out of his office, you know, up kind of marching around doing things. Yeah. But